What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This week we're going to be focusing on our 1965 Lincoln Continental with the Godzilla swap. We're going to be working on getting this thing prepped for body and paint, which includes redesigning the front grille, which I know nobody really liked. But before that, I'm going to get some modifications done to our bowler transmission. We're going to be utilizing a push button style shifter instead of using something on the column or a standard style shifter. Everything is going to be shifted electronically through this keypad. But as you can see here, the rest of the system, it's actually just going to actuate an electric motor inside this box that'll actuate this cable, and that will do the mechanical motion on the shift linkage. So this has to also get incorporated into the car. We have to mount this huge box somewhere inside the car. So before I start to mount the control box, I am going to make a modification to our shift select lever on the transmission. This cable that comes with the unit is a B&M style shift cable. So I'm gonna have to replace our shift lever to the B&M style one, so it'll be able to work with this cable. All right, well, I was gonna complete this shaft replacement here, but got just to the point where I've got everything unbolted and I'm realizing I've got like 1.5 inches to the frame rail here, and I got probably 2.5 inches that I have to pull it out. So the transmission's gonna have to come out, unfortunately. All right, so I've got the transmission out on the table. I've already made my modification, changing the gear selector shaft right here. It's nice black anodized hardened steel, super nice piece. Really easy to install this. If you're changing the shifter in your car, you might end up having to do this stuff too. So super simple, pull this out. The only thing you want to remember is not to let this drop out the gear select paw. That's it, man. Super simple deal. Also making sure that the end over here, this is where your park mechanism is. You want to make sure that's stuck in there properly, but I really don't think you can mess it up. So modification's done. We'll go ahead and put that pan back on, get this thing back together and back into the Continental. The last part is putting the gear selector switch back on it, the new lever. This is a Ford 4R70W built by Bowler Transmission. This is a True Street Series transmission, and that's built to handle, I think, up to 700 horsepower. So it's got upgraded converter, stronger internals, upgraded friction material. And so this is a beefy transmission. So if the owner of this car wants to beat on it real good, he will be able to do so. Also paired with the transmission, we have a very large transmission cooler that's going in the car to make sure that the thing never overheats and is always reliable. Finally got that transmission back in. Now we'll get back to locating this motor inside the car. This is going to be, I believe, the best place for it, under the front seat. Kind of dictated to where you can put it by the cable, all right? So the cable is only so long. All right, got our hole cut. I've got our cable ran. You see the bulkhead fits in there real nice and smooth. Even if this wasn't gonna get covered in carpet, it's still pretty nice looking. It's just a piece of billet aluminum, so how can you go wrong? But everything's looking real sweet in here, swept in a way that it's not causing any kind of resistance in the motor. The next part is gonna end up being just the wiring section of it. So the mechanical portion of all this is done and installed. Once we get it up and running and programmed and calibrated, we'll show you how it all works. One of the next things up on the list is getting our accelerator pedal installed. We were previously going to be using a drive-by-wire throttle body, but we kind of switched plans, the intake changed, and now we've got a cable-driven throttle body. And what we've got for accelerator pedal is this nice little hot rod low car piece. It's a CNC billet steel, and it's got a cool little pad on it. So we're gonna have to get some stuff mocked up before I finalize where exactly it's gonna land. I'm gonna put this front seat in there and see what's a good spot for this, how it's gonna be comfortable and easy to use. And then after we're done with that, we're gonna go ahead and run the cable that we have. We're gonna have to punch a hole through the firewall and attach it to our intake manifold as well. Pedals mounted, now all we have to do is create our hole for our bulkhead for the cable to come through. I'm gonna take a quick measurement on the cable housing to make sure I know exactly what size the hole to make, and then we'll be able to finalize the cable length and mount it to the throttle body. All right, this is where the throttle cable is gonna go through. Got a nice little hole. Protective grommet here. Next part, we're just gonna have to mount the bulkhead for the cable in the firewall, and then we'll be able to determine how long we're gonna have to make this cable. We're definitely gonna have to cut it back just a little bit, but I'm gonna wait till we get the mounting here and here before I go ahead and cut this down to size.
All right, we got the throttle body mounted back up to our intake. Everything's put back on. As you see, everything is working as it should. Drew is in the car. Look at him go already. I can hear the noise. Wah! Sounded like a burnout. Wide open. But yeah, we got good throttle movement. It's buried at 100% when he's hitting the firewall, so that's good. There is a little bit of slack on the way back when it's sitting here, so there's a tiny bit of slack, but Drew's saying maybe we could add a spring on the inside. So I think we're good to go. So I do have to notch this section of the hood right back here, so that way we have a little clearance here for our cable where it comes back behind our manifold.
While Mike is finishing clearancing the hood for the throttle cable, it's a perfect time to make a battery tray. So this seems like a great spot to put a battery. It's nice and accessible too, and our wiring runs can be pretty short. We're gonna catch this core support framing, and then this framing over here, which is also, I guess, part of the front of the core support. We'll be able to bolt in our battery tray on both sides here, have the battery rest on top, and then be able to have a hole down in the center. So let's go to the plasma, cut out our shape, bend it, and then we'll start to drill holes and get it mounted in here. Alright, so we got the battery tray all welded up, and it's gonna sit just about here. The battery will sit on top. So right now I'm gonna mark up all the holes on the back flange and the side flange, drill them out. Okay, we got the battery tray all mounted and the battery up in here, and it is nice and sturdy. Next thing, we have to have a battery hold down. I made this little tab here, and then I fabricated, this is actually some steering column rod, and I put a little groove into it to match up to the groove here. Slides in, sits flush up against here, and then you can bolt it right down here. I'm gonna add a second tab off of here, drill my hole, and be able to bolt both sides in. So that'll be nice and secure. The battery's not gonna go anywhere. And then that should be it for mounting the battery. With our battery mounted up, we could focus on redesigning our Lincoln front grille. So we have this sort of like horizontal slat material that we're gonna be using. So we got our LED light channel here. We got our OBS headlights here. So we're gonna be starting our grille material right around here and follow this edge. I might make a template first. That way I could just trace the template onto here. And then once it fits in this space, then we could kind of lay it above the headlight and trace out on top where our cutout is going to be. So let's start laying it out, get some measurements, and start cutting. So we got the grille pieces cut out and the interior pieces cut out so our lights can stick through. One thing with working with this material, because this isn't a perfect rectangle, the edges are never gonna actually be a finished look where you have to cut them around the light and when it meets up with the grille frame. So we got this 1/4" C aluminum material, and we're gonna be using that as a transition piece to fill the gap here. It'll be color matched, so sort of blend in and be one part of the grille. And then we're gonna make a bezel that goes around each of the lights as well. What this will provide is a mounting system. So this is all aluminum, we can't weld it. So when the grille goes on, we're gonna use this to put a riv nut inside, and we're gonna make some tabs on the back side here. That way you could bolt it in and it'll get sandwiched down. Let's get measuring and cutting some of this material, and then we could start fitting it to the grille. Okay, so we got the basic outline of the frame all made up here, and our next step is to secure it to the grille. So what we're gonna do is move behind and start making some tabs that we could capture into the back of our 1/4" C channel. So I'm just gonna make a little tab that gets steel, out of steel that's welded to the back of the grille here, comes down and around, and then we can put a piece of hardware right in the center. So I got my trim all attached, and I got my attachment points here that I welded on, here, here. And now we're gonna add a couple down here. I already have the riv nuts installed in the trim piece, as you can see behind this part of the grille. I just need another couple tabs like this to weld onto the steel portion. That way it'll sandwich everything, hold it nice and tight. So we're gonna have 6 points of attachment there, and then in the center, the Lincoln logo will sandwich the center, this loose part of the grille right down here. Pull that nice and tight as well. So what I'm gonna do now, cut out a couple of these on the plasma, clean them up, line them up and get them tacked in there. And then once those are all welded on, I could start going to the center logo.
All right, this is it, man. Our Continental is leaving us. We pretty much got the whole thing back together. We even got our new grill sitting in there. We are aired up with our temporary air system. We got our boy here from Crystal Towing. He's getting ready to take it over to Boosted Auto. They are gonna prep the entire car for wrap, sanding it down with a DA. We got most of the trim off. All the trim is gonna be wrapped, color wrapped to the car.
except for some of the trim around like our windows that Andrew went ahead and disassembled everything. So they're gonna be able to paint all that stuff to match our accent color, which is the same color as our wheels. As you guys seen, we did all that fabrication work in the trunk compartment as well as in the engine compartment. All that stuff's gonna be getting painted, our accent color, along with our louvers and a couple other little odds and ends. So yeah, man, we got it ready to go. We got all our panels sitting inside the car. I got that box right there. Everything's going. So we're gonna get this thing loaded up. We're gonna take it on over to Boosted Auto and let them get the games beginning. All right, guys. Well, car's loaded, and that's a wrap on the episode. We actually got a ton of work done on the car as we were kind of prepping and getting ready for the paint shop. Andrew got the fuel lines done. We got the brake system done. We got 50% of our hard lines done. Temporary air system, of course, to get the car onto the tow truck and make it able for them to move it around their shop. We got a ton of fabrication done on this car. And I'd say the boys at the body shop got their work cut out for them. But next time we see this thing, it's gonna be ready for wrap and ready for us to get this thing running. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you. Peace.